Welcome to Harbor Callings, sponsored by the Oasis Inner Journeys, a place to find yourself in the journey of life.
Good morning, Gina. I'm Cheryl from the Oasis Inner Journeys, and we're an informal group of leaders changing the world.
Yeah.
Gina is joining us today, and I just wanted to maybe start today, Gina, with your description of what our Oasis is.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? Thank you, Cheryl, for having me here. The Oasis is this beautiful space that's never existed before. When you think of the definition of an oasis, it's a reprieve. It's a beautiful space that takes you away from the norm. And that's exactly what we are. We are a very unique space that represents a paradigm shift that is taking place globally away from this expert model where you come to a place where someone is the guru, they have their staff in hand and they're the expert and you come to get the answers. Well, we're a place where we believe that everyone has their own inner guidance and their own answers within them. And so we're a collective group of spiritual leaders who come in to strengthen our own inner guidance, get our own answers, and also to share our unique gifts with the world. So we have so much to learn from one another. And at the same time, we're also here to strengthen the internal knowing and the divinity of who we are. So that's really what the Oasis is. And yes, we are changing the world. Thank you for saying that.
I was going to say there's so many gifts out there, and without looking at things like they can be right or wrong, it seems we need to discover our own path and listen and find our guidance in that. And I just love how you do that, Gina. And I'm so happy to be a part of the Oasis. I found it through you, and I'm excited.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited and the people that have gathered here are all ready, and it's all about perfect timing. Everyone being ready to, we get the sense that there comes a point where we have tuned into, and I want to say tuned back into our own inner guidance, because I believe that from birth, we have this inner GPS that we're well aware and connected to. If you can recall being a child, if you have a child, if you know a child, you can see that they're really in tune with and connected to their own divinity, their own answers. And so we kind of train that out of them. And we train them to look outside of themselves and not trust themselves. It starts with parenting. It goes on to teachers. Listen to what your teachers say and go to the doctor. And this just exacerbates throughout our life where we've come to lose touch with that inner knowing. And so the Oasis is really calling people who are ready and recognize and feel within themselves that inner knowing. And it's familiar, and we know that it's really powerful, and that's where the best of us lies. That's what the Oasis is about, calling you home.
And I think there are so many people out there that are just chomping at the bit to do this. They're just ready, and they don't know where to find it, because it's really hard to find somebody that doesn't talk at you, but somebody who talks with you, and somebody who can support you and help you grow and shine your light. Because let's face it, we're all at different levels. None of us are at the same level along our path, right?
Yeah, and every spiritual journey is so unique and so different, and that's what we honor here. So it's not about getting to a certain level, and it's not about achieving XYZ. It's about everybody coming and enjoying community along our spiritual path, growing with our gifts, and strengthening our inner guidance system. It's kind of like, I think of our inner guidance, for me anyways, this has been my experience, is that for so many years, I was outward focused and looking at how I can live my life according to the rules that I've been taught. And it's kind of like having your arm in a sling. And when you don't use your inner guidance, imagine if you've ever had a cast or had an arm in a sling or a lazy eye, it starts to atrophy, and it starts to lose its ability, or your connection to the ability. And so what do you do once your arm comes out of the sling? Well, you have to strengthen it. It's like a muscle. And that's what this community is all about. It's getting in touch back with that inner knowing so that we can share our unique gifts. We don't speak our truth when we don't trust it. And so that's really the beauty of this space, is everybody coming into their full power to share.
I really love the consistency of it, Gina. I find that I'm regrouping, remembering, and I'm doing what I can to recharge. But the fact that I can pick up what I want each day,
Right.
almost any time, and all
Yeah.
the support we get with that, it's beautiful. It's just, it fills my soul, because
Mm.
one of my purposes in life is to help others light their life, and to do that, you have to light your life, and you're always working with it. It's a great feeling. So when we talk about possibilities and we talk about, let's talk a little bit about Harbor Callings, because
Okay.
that comes up for me, so many possibilities. I'd love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, so Oasis Harbor Callings is a communication platform. So what we're launching today is a communication platform. And when you just break down the title alone just gives me chills from head to toe. So think of an oasis. An oasis is a place that you go for a reprieve, for a refuge, a place that, doesn't exist in our, everyday life. It's a place to get away, somewhere unique and somewhere special and magical. But a harbor is actually a place where the ships come. It's a coastal place. And when I imagine an oasis harbor, I imagine a beautiful place where the sun's, sparkling on the water. But what makes the Oasis Harbor Callings unique and magical as opposed to all these other communication platforms is the calling. The calling is all about the ships that come in. So once again, you're not coming to the Oasis Harbor to see, Gina, the monument standing there, the statue, or to see the vistas or the views. You're coming bringing your own unique, beautiful space to share, and we can share and learn from one another. And it's a place of constant regeneration and renewal, where there's new ships coming in all the time, bringing their jewels and their wares. And I think of a harbor, think of where the land meets the sea. It's such a beautiful metaphor for possibility, of discovering a new place, an oasis. And so there's just so much juiciness in what we're doing. And we're inviting people around the world who feel called to come into this harbor and to share and to learn and to grow. That's what we are.
And what a great way to celebrate community, because everybody has something to offer, or, at any stage, at any level. You have services, you have programs, you have yourself, you have your teachings, you have who you are. And that's the biggest thing for me, because I really believe that this is the only way to really get to know who we are. And to fill your soul, to fill your life with what you need.
Yeah. And I love that you say it's wherever you're at. And I think, in so many spiritual communities, people feel that they have to be at a certain place or have a certain belief system. There's no dogma here. There's nothing that you have to believe, or there's nowhere you have to be on your spiritual journey. Everybody, wherever you are, even if it's the very first day and you're saying, I feel like I want to know more about myself, and today is day one, this is the place for you. Or maybe you've been on your spiritual journey for 20 years and you're looking for a place to share and expand and grow, then this is for you as well. And that's what's so beautiful about this community.
Well, and we've all been listening to The Time Is Now. That's, everybody's into the now mode, and that's perfect, because working in the moment is very important. But why do you think the timing is so powerful this coming month?
Oh my gosh. Well, this is the start of August. And August, I've been talking to a lot of people, and there seems to be this sense of August being a little bit laid back, the energy a little bit more reflective. People are maybe going on some vacations or spending, slowing things down a little bit, maybe feeling a little lazy or lethargic. There's not this big energy around August, and it makes a lot of sense, because September 1st actually is the beginning of the spiritual new year. Most of us think of the new year as Jan 1st, according, to the calendar. But September 1st is actually the dawn of the spiritual new year, where spirit sets energy from September the 1st that goes all the way to the end of August 31st. And so this is a really exciting time. For us in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the time where we're moving into fall. People are going back to school, back to schedules, back to work. And so this is really a time where we can start to gather and set our intention for this beautiful energy that's about to introduce itself, and really get ready for some new personal and spiritual goals. So this is a really exciting time.
And moving forward with that, do you see that as people start to join at the place they're in right now, that's even perfect for it, because we need leaders at all levels. We need people to grow from where they're at and just expand, and to do it as quickly, you know, and as comfortably, but with ease and with flow, and to begin somewhere, knowing a spiritual New Year is coming up. The energy is just all around us to actually allow that expansion.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. And the spiritual New Year, when you think of a new year, you know, people get really excited and start thinking about setting goals, or maybe it's a health goal, or maybe it's a business goal, or maybe it's a personal goal to start meditating, or you know, whatever it is. This is a beautiful time to start to set these goals, but we want to do it in a non-traditional way. And that's what we'll be talking about in our conversations over this month. We want to do it in a way that honors spirit, that honors energy, that doesn't feel like pressure, that doesn't feel like stress, a way that really aligns us with our inner guidance, which will be the topic of our next video, aligns us with our inner guidance and really sets our GPS so that we're moving along the trajectory that's going to fulfill us instead of cause us stress. I mean, for most people, I stopped setting New Year's resolutions a few years ago when I recognized as a type A that they caused me more stress than they did me benefit. And so we really want to look at new ways to open up this energy and start to set in this, you know, this momentum for our spiritual growth and our personal growth, or growth in any area of your life. That's why this is such an exciting time. And this is really the perfect time to be part of this community.
Well, it's perfect for me because I like to set my goals as such, as intent. So intent is a little easier. You can go with the flow. You can change your intent. You don't feel that drive to achieve this goal because then there's always that goal and that goal, whereas intent helps you flow.
Yeah, I love the word intent, intention. I always, every day I think about what's my intention for the day instead of a goal. So it feels softer to me. So I really appreciate that. I think of Albert Einstein was quoted as saying that 80% of his life was lived in a state of euphoria. And so when I think about what that means, what it meant for him, I think about what that means for me. Euphoria is just an energy state, right? It's a high vibing energy. And so intention for me is more about energy than it is about reaching the goal. So I love that you say intention. So what is the intention for me is more about getting clear about what's the energy I want to bring to this day, or the energy I want to bring to this objective, as opposed to like the goal. And we got to like, you know, kick this goal's ass, or, you know, there's just such aggression around a goal, whereas an intention feels a little bit softer. Right. I love that. I love it.
Well, I'm thinking this has really been a perfect little chat leading into our next video, which will be on inner guidance.
Yeah.
Is there anything more you'd like to offer our listeners?
Yeah, I'd say that the first place to start when we're setting intention and getting really clear about our energy as we're leading into a spiritual new year is to really sit in this pocket of reflection and regrouping. And one of the best ways to do that is that I found is through quiet space. I'm very careful about terminology. Some people call it meditation or visualization, but to permit yourself to be in a pocket of space, empty space, to slow down a little bit in your day and to allow this energy, because this whole year has gone by, and I'm going to leave you with some questions that you can reflect on before our next video, but a whole year has gone by, and before we even begin to start with this new energy of the new year, let's just sit in this space and just give ourselves permission to daydream, give ourselves permission to float in a beautiful space of intention. You know, what do you want to call forth into your life? You know, visualization is such a powerful tool. And I think, you know, a lot of people say, oh gosh, visualize, it sounds so hard. I don't know how to do it, you know, if I'm doing it right. But we visualize all the time. We visualize when we worry. We're visualizing about things that we don't want to happen. But visualization is really giving ourselves permission to call in the energy of what we want to bring into our lives into the next year. So you can start to give yourself some space, and it doesn't have to be a huge chunk of time. It could be 10 minutes today, maybe 10 minutes on the weekend. Give yourself some chunks of time where you can sit in this reflective, energetic space and allow yourself and your imagination to breathe new life into possibility. You know, what do you want? I think so many of us don't even get really clear about what we want. So when we start to talk about inner guidance next time, we'll tap into what we want versus what we think we should want. But I think that's a really important place to start, is to start to visualize the feelings, the relationships, the health, the business, what we want to cultivate in our lives is a beautiful place to start.
What our passions are, what our purpose is. Those things are so much a part of who we are.
Yes.
Often we aren't even clear about those.
Yeah. And I think, just a couple of tips on how to do that might be really helpful as well. A lot of people get stuck in doing things the right way. But I think what's really important is that, if you give yourself some space just to sit in the quiet and allow yourself to either see or feel, sense, what would it feel like or be like if I'm in my joy, if I'm living my purpose? You don't have to know specifically as yet, but just play in that field a little bit and allow yourself. It's kind of like, I think of The Wizard of Oz when it goes from black and white to Technicolor. Try to be as vivid as possible in that, sink into that feeling. And if you haven't done this for a while, it might take you a little bit to get into that space. But allow yourself to daydream. That's the very first step. Let's get into a space of what is possible for your life.
Well, and some people are stopped by what is possible because they don't think anything is possible. So maybe even just get into that place of finding what makes your heart sing, what makes you glow. That's because it's about you. We're so different, each of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. It's been great. I look forward to the next video. How about you?
Yeah, I do. Let me leave you a couple of things to think about. If maybe questions to ask yourself, and when we hit the next video, then we can kind of come to a place where we're starting to tune into and talk about our inner guidance and how we can tap more into that. Now, of course, at the Oasis, what we have is we teach several techniques, like a cleansing technique, which helps us get really centered and cleansed in the moment and have a self-awareness that we wouldn't have otherwise. We teach inner guidance and how to use our various spiritual gifts. But if you haven't been exposed to any of that, here are a couple of questions to get you started. And if that's intriguing to you, we'll leave some links so that you can inquire a little bit more about that, how to tap in. But here are a couple of questions to reflect on. And it's not about searching for the answers per se. I think sometimes the questions are more important than coming to a specific answer, but just start to sit with questions like, what did I accomplish for myself in the last spiritual year? What did I accomplish for myself in the last spiritual year? Was I loyal to myself? In what areas was I loyal to myself? What areas did I feed or fuel myself? What areas did I grow? What did I learn about myself? And maybe what might I have done differently? Just start to ask some open-ended questions, and don't be so concerned about the answers, but just start to ask yourself these questions. Reflect on the past 12 months. And when we see you in the next video, we'll give you some guidance on tuning into your inner guidance. That's why we're here.
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It was fun, Cheryl. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.
Tune in next time to Oasis Harbor Callings.